Well, today I have myself the R9 380X, the Sapphire Nitro flavor. Let's go ahead and take a look. Alright, so looking at the box really quick, just to glaze this over, you get this little transformer looking thing here. Big emphasis on the fact that this comes with a back plate. So very nice to see that, whereas the 380 does not. 4GB frame buffer, AMD FreeSync, which I won't be able to test today, guys. I don't have a FreeSync monitor currently, but in the future we'll see if we can remedy that. Intelligent fan control, and what I've noticed is anything above 50 degrees Celsius, the fans do start to ramp up, but just barely. So anything 50 and under, the fans turn right off as far as I've noticed and during all my testing. And here you get some of the features as far as the layout of the car, the design, the black diamond chokes, nice to see. Gonna have a lot of lifespan from those. The backplate that's included copper heat pipes, which look to be around 6-7 millimeter. It didn't actually specify that here. The Sapphire Dual X cooling, which does a great job on the cooling for that. And coming out of the box, you just get this kind of brown, generic looking box. I mean, I don't really care how it comes packaged, as long as it arrives in one piece. I don't care about flair, I just want it to work, and so should you. So looking at the card now, you see the Dual X cooler that I just mentioned right around here. Nice black aesthetic, a little bit of a sheen to it, but not overly glossy, which is nice to see. The Nitro branding here, and nice big fans. And as you can see here along the top and along the side, I'll probably have some B-roll there in a second, where you're going to see this huge, just unisync, this huge, nice, big, fat heatsink that's doing all the cooling. It almost looks like a vapor chamber design, but yeah. And look at those pipes. I mean, just look at that. Look at all that heat it's going to be dissipating. And it does have a copper base right here as well, right on top of the GPU, taking care of all that cooling. Through the top, you see a bit of the more cooling, the little tips of the heat pipes there, but you have your two 6-pin PCIe power, so keep that in mind. This will be drawing up to about 150 or so watts, around that range. And then here is your back plate. Now, when you're actually going to be installing this in your card, it's going to go, well, like this. And it's good to see that they put the text in the right orientation, so even though you're like this, your text is still showing up. It's not going to look entirely silly. So they did keep that in mind, and the text is in the right orientation. So looking at I/O, you get 2 DVI, 1 HDMI, and 1 DisplayPort. While one of these DVI is digital only, you're not going to get the analog pins in here if you want to use an adapter. The analog one would be this one right here, which has a dual link. This one's single link, so keep that in mind. Now right here does seem to be a little tiny dip switch for a dual BIOS. I haven't tested this personally, but if you guys like some more further investigation with that, just let us know in the comments or stop by the forum, and yeah, maybe I'll jump right on that and mess around with it a bit. So yeah, all in all, guys, a more, neutral, dulled down, and I don't want to say dulled down, but more subdued aesthetic, not the orange or blue that Sapphire cards used to come with. So those were pleasing. They looked great, but they didn't really meld with many themes. Like if you want to go for a particular colored theme in your build, red, blue, or anything, or even something more black, something more neutral, this is going to fit any aesthetic you want to go to. It's not really going to clash with many other colors. So it's good to see that their Nitro brand is really dulling down the looks, but not making it boring, just making it more susceptible to melding and making sense with more rigs. So guys, before we jump into benchmarks, I'm going to glaze over really quickly on temperatures for the card. I ran Furmark, and Furmark topped me off at around 80 to 81 degrees Celsius. So yeah, it gets kind of toasty, but thankfully, I mean, if this was a blower style cooler, it would just be murdered. And I didn't notice any throttling at all, even with Furmark. Granted, that's a 100% unrealistic load. You're never really going to be doing that, even while gaming. So yeah, it was just to see how hot the card really gets, and I even did it in my R5 completely open, by the way. It wasn't closed, so that would be best case scenario, being that this is a open cooler design, so it could use all that extra open space to cool, whereas a blower style cooler would benefit more from a closed system with a lot of intake from the front of the system, so that way the blower cooler is getting it directly from the front and blowing out the back. And more open case in this case, when I tested with Furmark, would benefit this kind of cooler more because it's an open environment. But even then, it still reached up to 80, 81. Now, noise-wise, I don't have a sound, decibel meter or anything. I can probably get an app for that, but I don't really know how accurate that's going to be. But number two, the noise of the fans, you will notice it once it ramps up, 100%, 70%, 80% on the fan speed. But it wasn't as if I had a leaf blower in the background. And especially if I have my R5 closed, I'm not really going to hear it. So it's just a dull, whirring, fan noise that you would normally expect, even from some really top-end, chassis fans when they ramp up. It's not overwhelming. So the Dual X cooling here is really doing its job. It's not very loud. It's just slightly there. And during normal use, gaming use, I don't hear it at all. So it's really doing its job there. So let's go ahead and jump into benchmarks. I believe the games I tested out was GTA 5, Trine 2. I believe I did some BioShock as well. Guys, just keep in mind my game library at the moment isn't all that vast. I don't have Battlefront. I had the beta, but clearly when that stopped, I didn't have it anymore. I don't have Witcher 3, which I would have loved to test because Witcher 3 is a great, it's a really heavy game, even just for 1080p usage. And being that this is more, marketed as a 1080p card, and granted, I tested some VSR, that virtual super resolution, some, what would be supposedly, right matched with 1440p resolution. It did rather well with a GTA 5, but let's go ahead and check out those benchmarks, and we'll go from there. Now, as you can see, guys, the 1080p performance on the games that I've tested, at least, is pretty solid. And I don't doubt that you can run even heavier, more taxing games like Witcher 3 on this. Just granted, you'll probably not be doing everything on Ultra, even at 1080p, because Witcher 3 is just an intense game overall. But many other titles, you can really ramp up the quality settings, especially because of the 4GB frame buffer on this. It's really trading blows with the 960 from the Green Team, but I was planning to put some graphs for you guys to show those comparisons and the numbers more, well, concretely, more, officially right there, but I'm having some issues with OpenOffice displaying my graphs properly. So yeah, this is what I've been able to bring to the table today, but I will continue my testing on this on the side because I'm really intrigued at how this card is performing at 1080, but also with VSR, Virtual Super Resolution, which I'll probably put a little take here, little clip here of how to enable that. Granted that your flat panel, your digital flat panel within the Catalyst Control Center does give you that option with a granted supported card, because even some APUs support the VSR, but after a certain generation. So yeah, it is compelling. It's a very compelling buy. It is really trading blows with what I've seen with the 960, even price-wise, coming in. Granted, this card just launched, so it may reduce in price after a little bit later on in the year, the beginning of the new year for that matter. And yeah, it does present quite a compelling buy from the red team to what the green team has in store. So yeah, if you guys like the video, go ahead, give this a like there, let us know in the comments below, but please stop by the site techsyndicate.com, check out these links over here to the left, visit us on Twitter over there at the bottom, and yeah, let us know what you guys think. I definitely am enjoying this card. It's pretty. I'm going to be messing around with it a little bit more and see if maybe there's something else that comes up that deserves a little bit of spotlight, if you will. And yeah, so great little job here with the 380X. And we'll see you guys in the next one.